the winner is Young Shan Yin of the Red Fang!
The DJ's words echo as Gao lays on the floor defeated, Rin and Makoto running up to him, Makoto calling,
Gao!
As they reach him, and Gao looks up with an angry grin. Rin asks,
Are you alright?
Meanwhile in the stadium, Dronzer's MSUV is in pieces, and the Dronzer is in Zulong's grip, being dragged out of the bit chip, and is drawn into Yoon's bay, while Gao's eyes open wide, as he's thinking in shock.
Dronzer!
Yoon raises the bay into his hand, laughing, while the DJ finishes.
The Red Fang has won the second round!
Yoon turns around, starting to walk away, as Gao struggles to get up, filled with anger.
Gao?
Rin and Makoto ask in surprise. Gao suddenly charges forward towards the stadium, screaming,
Get back here!
Makoto jumps up in shock and grabs onto Gao before he can catch up to his opponent.
I'm not done with you yet! I'm not just gonna let you take him away from me! Give me Dronzer!
Gao screams out in great fury. Makoto struggles to hold on to him, pleading.
Calm down, Gao. If you attack him now, we'll be disqualified.
Yoon ignores Gao as the two Red Fangs walk away towards the exit. Makoto tries to calm him.
Don't worry, Gao. There's still a chance to get our bits back. Rin could still win in the final battle.
He turned back to look at Kenny.
Right?
Kenny glares down in sorrow, not answering. Makoto pleads yet again in a more desperate tone.
Right?
Rin stares at her blade in silence, clenching it with a frustrated look. Meanwhile, at the top of the lector, Mose is watching while speaking on his phone.
So, this is how it all ends. Both Dronzer and Dragoon have been captured.
He stares on with a depressed expression.
I've calculated every single possibility inside my head, and I see no way that they can turn this around. So much for that hidden potential.
Skelton answers on the phone.
You shouldn't leave just yet. I have a feeling things are about to get a bit more interesting.
On the other side of the dome, Ray gets up hastily, shocking his friends. Lee asking,
Ray?
Ray walks on with determination.
Lee, gather the council for an emergency meeting. The Red Fang have gone too far.
What are you going to do, Ray?
Mariah asks with a worried voice.
I'm gonna do what I should have done from the very start. I'm going to involve myself directly.
The White Tiger's jaws drop in surprise. Thus it begins. Chapter 10. Eyes Without a Face. Things aren't too cheerful inside BBA's waiting room. Gao kicks some chairs, screaming.
Damn it!
Makoto sits down moping as he thinks.
All that for nothing.
Tyson, I have some bad news.
Kenny talks on the phone, sweating like crazy. Tyson answers.
Oh, hello, Kenny. How are you doing? So they didn't make it this year. That's okay, there's always...
Dragoon has been stolen!
What did you say?
Kenny pleads in panic.
Calm down, calm down!
Tyson breathes heavily on the other side, trying to calm himself down.
You're right. You're right, we can still turn this around.
Then he realizes.
Yes, Gao. Kai's kid. He's pretty strong, surely he could.
About that. Dronzer was captured too. Sorry.
Tyson goes completely silent as Kenny gets frightened.
Anyways, I'm gonna call Kai now and resign from life. Take care.
And thus, he hangs up before Tyson lets things sink in, while he himself cries and thinks.
This is it. My life is over.
Meanwhile, Rin is standing by the balcony of the dome, looking at her Drieger blade.
Trigger, after everything we've been through, I never thought it would end like this.
She moves the blade to her forehead as she closes her eyes.
I always saw myself as a pretty good blader, but still, I can't help this feeling that I've been falling behind.
A flashback is shown of Makoto's previous battles.
Ever since I first met him, Makoto has pulled off one upset after the other. No matter how great the odds stood against him, he always rose to the occasion with zero doubt in himself. Even when I messed up and lost my bet to the Tokyo Blades, Makoto was the one to set it all right again. But now, when he's lost Dragoon, and I'm standing helpless.
A flashback of Rin and Gao's first meeting is shown, along with all of Gao's past battles.
Not only Makoto, but Gao as well. At first I thought he was just a bully, but after watching all of his battles until now, I think I might have misjudged him. I can truly relate to the bonds he seems to have with his Dranzer. He's a brilliant blader, and I can't help feeling a bit of envy towards his strong iron will and internal strength.
She opens her eyes, speaking to Drieger.
I entered this tournament with hope that I'd be able to prove myself to the elders and earn the right to keep you. But I'm now cornered from both ends. If I fight in the final battle, you'll be taken by the Red Fang. If I don't fight at all, you'll be confiscated by the council.
Rin starts crying.
Drieger, you were the first and only friend I ever had. And even if I may have found new friends in Kao and Makoto, I can't stand the thought of losing you. I can't stand the feeling that I'm going to let everyone down. I'm not like them. I can't win.
Rin whimpers in frustration when someone interrupts.
Drop that attitude right now.
It's Ray, standing behind her with a box in his hand.
You're a white tiger, and even more so, you're my daughter. I'll be damned if you're gonna accept being some third wheel under Gao and Makoto.
Dad!
Rin hugs him with a tear-filled face. Ray speaks calmly.
You wanna know the truth as to why you can't win? It's because you think you're not good enough.
He puts his hand on her head as she looks up.
In the public eye, I might often been viewed as the third strongest after Kai and Tyson, but the truth is, I never accepted that position.
Ray continues with flashbacks of the battles, when Ray fought against Kai and Tyson in G-Revolution.
Despite what everyone may have thought or said, I never doubted for a second that I could take them on.
Flashbacks show when Ray gave both of them a hard time.
And you know what? There were plenty of times when I had them on the ropes, and only the slightest slip-up could have landed me on top. You don't need to be Gao or Makoto to win. You need to be yourself. Then, and only then will you win.
Rin looks up at him with sad eyes, but a hint of gratitude.
It doesn't matter what the odds are. All I need to know is, do you still want to fight?
You have to be kidding. Move forward? Do you even realize what's at stake?
Kenny is trembling on the phone, with Kai at the other end.
I haven't the slightest idea who these Red Fangs think they are, but they're playing a very high game. And there's only one way to deal with someone that are bold enough to make these kind of moves. And that's to make your own move even bolder.
Kenny gulps.
But Kai, Drieger will be...
What's done is done. They challenged us and we accepted. Honestly, what do you think would happen if we were to forfeit the match now in an act of cowardness?
It would encourage them.
Exactly. It would encourage them and tell them that we're weak. Thus they will strike us again, but even harder the next time around.
I'll do whatever I can.
Kenny hangs up. Gao seems surprised by his father's response, while Makoto asks,
We're still fighting in the final round?
Kenny looks worried.
I don't know. I don't think Rin would want...
I want to fight in the last battle.
Rin interrupts, standing in the door beside her father. Kenny turns around in surprise.
Ray?
Rin walks inside.
I've nothing left to lose anymore. All I want is a chance to prove myself to the council in the final match, so they won't take Drieger away from me.
Makoto is confused.
Wait, the council wants to take Drieger from you? Since when?
Rin looks away.
Since a long time ago. It's the very reason I left the White Tigers in the first place.
She then looks at Makoto.
You were there for me when I lost Drieger to the Tokyo Blades. It's only fair I should return the favor and try to get Dragoon back for you now.
Rin.
Makoto seems touched. Gao sounds grumpy.
I haven't the slightest clue what my father's thinking. We'll just be handing them another bit beast. It's a really dumb idea if you ask me.
Kenny sweats and glares down.
I think Gao might be right. I see no way that we can still win this.
Perhaps you don't, but I do.
Ray brings up the box with a confident smile.
I brought a secret weapon.
Wait, that box? It's...
Kenny stares at it in shock, then screams out in horror.
Are you insane?
Meanwhile, inside the Red Fang locker room, Yoon is washing the blood from his mouth with a cocky smirk.
Did you see that, Shiyu? I was brilliant. That fool didn't even know what hit him.
Sayu sits down, answering in a cold voice.
Don't gloat. It's unbecoming of a warrior. Your battle was far too close for comfort. Not to mention our real fight has only just begun.
We switch over to the BBA, as Ray opens the box, revealing the most simple-looking launcher.
Let me introduce you to the Gear Multiplier.
Makoto glares into the box with confusion.
We needed a secret weapon, not a can opener.
Kenny says,
This is the latest in Beyblade technology. It may just be a prototype, but it's the most powerful launcher ever created.
Kenny's face turns serious.
But there's a catch.
At the Red Fangs, Sayu stares on with dark glaring eyes as she explains.
With phase 1 now complete, we have to break the will of Drancer and Dracoon so we can use them as our own.
Yoon listens.
Soon, we will move on to the finals, where we must capture as many beat beasts as we can, and search for new prospects to join our ranks.
Sayu finishes, with an image of them standing in the shadows, with piles of defeated bladers surrounding them.
Even after all that, our greatest challenge still remains.
Makoto's jaw drops as she learns about the GM launcher.
3 times the speed and spin rate? You have to be kidding me.
I'm serious. No launcher I have ever made before even comes close to the gear multiplier, but only 3 bladers in the entire world have managed to control it. Since Rin is a speed specialist, she's the only one of you that might even have the slightest chance of mastering it in time. Even so...
Ray finishes.
Even so, our chances are very slim to succeed. So we better start now before we run out of time.
Makoto calls out in excitement.
Damn straight. If this is where our journey ends, then let's go out with a bang.
Let's win this!
Rin picks up the launcher as they head out. At the Red Fangs, Sayu is still talking.
The finals will be difficult. Our capture of Drancer and Dragoon will not be without consequences. Both the PBB All-Stars, as well as Kai's bulk of bladers, will be coming after us as the tournament progresses. Even after the finals, we'll still have our ultimate target to worry about, Ray and Max of the original Blade Breakers. Thanks to Neza's failure, we now have to fight them both individually. Taking them both on at the same time would...
Hey, Sayu, you better come see this.
Yoon glares at the TV in shock, while Sayu walks up slowly and eerily.
Would you believe it? Final Legacy has returned for one more match, despite their humiliating defeat in the last battle.
The DJ screams, as the BBA Legacy walks in with Ray in the front of them.
And the one leading their charge is no other than the legendary Ray!
All the audience is speechless, seeing such a legend stepping into the dome after so many years. Yoon smiles.
Seems like they still want more.
Sayu turns around and starts walking towards the door.
Then more they shall have.
Sayu states, as they both head for the dome, where BBA Legacy is waiting with Ray, standing by the stadium.
The Red Fangs has arrived!
The Red Fang enter to a silent crowd, and Sayu walks ahead towards the stadium glaring at Ray.
I was expecting to fight you sooner or later, but I didn't think it would be this soon.
Fight me?
Ray chuckles.
Show some respect, young lady. I didn't become known as one of the best bladers in history, so I could waste my time lecturing snot-nosed brats who let one victory too many go to their heads.
He looks up with fiery eyes, adding,
No, I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to make a request.
Sayu seems insulted and continues.
Very well, White Tiger. What's this request of yours?
I want to ask you to give us 20 minutes of training before the final match. After that, I promise, Rin will be strong enough to beat you.
The entire dome is awestruck. Even Mose is slightly surprised.
He has to be joking.
Yoon gets up angrily.
What an insult!
Sayu answers calmly.
I don't see what difference it makes. Fine, you can have your 20 minutes before we crush you completely.
The DJ interferes.
Hold on a minute, this is...
Silence!
Sayu calls out, staring at the frightened DJ as she continues.
This is a matter of honor. You will have to accept our terms, or we'll forfeit from the tournament altogether.
The DJ wipes the sweat from his brow.
Well, if you're that determined, I suppose we have no choice.
He grabs his microphone and screams out.
We shall now take a short break of 20 minutes before we head into the final battle.
The people cheer as Ray bows down smiling.
Thank you.
Sayu walks away angrily as BBA Legacy moves ahead towards the exit. Meanwhile, Lee joins the rest of the White Tigers once more.
What is going on? What's Ray even thinking?
Mariah asks right away. Lee instantly glares straight at Tai and Chow, screaming,
You two head over to the BBA Legacy right now. They need your help. Hurry!
They both run away in a hurry. While Lee sits down looking distorted, Mistel asks,
Rough meeting, huh?
Lee answers with a sigh.
Ray have put his title as clan's leader as a bet on winning this match.
All look on in shock, with Mariah asking.
You have to be kidding!
Lee continues.
Not only that, but the council even voted to banish him from the village if he should lose Drigger to the Red Fang.
Kevin asks,
Why would he take things this far?
I don't know, but whatever he is planning, it better be good.
Gary looks ahead with a sad voice saying,
Ray is gonna leave the village again?
Kevin answers,
Yes, but if he's banished.
Lee finishes.
If he's banished this time, he can't ever return.
Lee bites together in anger, while Mariah looks sad, thinking,
Ray.
Rin and Ray are training fiercely, as familiar steps are running towards their locker room next to the training room. Gao is talking.
I'm not sure. I still think...
But is interrupted by Nessa, bursting through the door, breathing heavily.
Thank heavens I made it.
Makoto is surprised.
Nessa?
He looks up with a serious expression.
You have to forfeit the final match.
Makoto smiles and laughs.
Oh, it's just that? Don't worry about it.
Kenny fakes a smile, speaking nervously.
Yeah, there's no way we'd lose the coming battle.
Gao facepalms.
Stop trembling, Chief. It's embarrassing. Anybody could tell you two are faking.
Kenny sighs, speaking sadly.
Is it really that obvious?
Makoto looks at Kenny, super shocked.
What? Were you faking?
Gao sits down calmly.
Thinking confidence won't make any difference since he's no longer our enemy.
Nessa studies the room, then comments.
Wait, don't tell me you're sending that white tiger girl to fight Sayu.
Gao answers.
I personally thought it was a really stupid idea, but these idiots won't listen to reason.
Makoto lectures Gao.
Quit it, Yao. Rin is awesome and she'll beat that Sayu girl to a pulp.
Nessa is trembling.
That's a bad move. Whatever you do, send anyone but her.
Kenny seems shocked.
Wait, what do you mean?
Nessa puts his hands to his mouth, realizing he's said too much. Kenny seemed very troubled.
Don't tell me that Xiaoyu has the answer to Rin's abilities in the same way that Young has the Gao's?
Nessa moves his hands from his mouth and sighs.
Not exactly.
Then stares down, answering.
Look, I have already said too much. I really don't want to betray my clan or their cause. All I want is to make sure that nothing bad happens to you guys.
Kenny steps up in shock.
Okay, now I'm concerned. What exactly is going to happen and what is this cause you keep talking about?
Makoto points accusingly.
Hold on, you're trying to take over the world, aren't you?
Makoto!
Kenny lectures him, signifying it was rude. Makoto looks on pleadingly.
What? People always tried to take over the world back in the old days. At least that's what Dad told me.
Nessa answers.
What? No, we're not trying to take over the world. I promise. Anyways, I can't really tell you anymore about the cause. Even though I've started to have my own doubts about it, I just can't tell you.
He starts to plead.
Just please listen to me. Sayu is dangerous. You have to...
Makoto walks straight past him, ignoring his plea.
Neza.
Makoto looks at his former opponent.
We're BBA Legacy and we won't run away from anyone. I don't care how strong you say she is, we'll still fight her.
Rin is struggling hard inside the training room as Makoto's words echo.
We don't care about the odds, not when our bit beasts are on the line.
Nessa looks on in amazement at Makoto's determination as he finishes.
While we do appreciate your concern, I think it's time that you warned Sayu about us.
Inside the training room, Rin sends Tai's Bei flying out of the stadium, still spinning on the ground as he stands there stunned, while Makoto's words echo.
'Cause we're not going down without a fight.
Makoto walks past Nessa, heading for the battle. Kenny smiles proudly.
Well said, Makoto.
Kenny moves on towards the dome, with Gao walking past Nessa, with his hands in his pockets. He stops to give some final words.
I sure joined a team of fools. But after having come this far, I might as well stick around to see how it all ends.
He walks on, finishing the sentence with a wicked smile.
Don't you agree?
Nessa looks at his bit chip, thinking,
to fight for your bit beast.
He closes his fist and runs after them.
Wait, I'm coming too.
Sayu glares eerily toward the lector, where the white tigers are sitting. Yoon notices and asks,
What are you thinking?
It's the white tigers. I truly despise them, every last one of them.
Yoon gulps as she stares at them with murderous intent. He looks away, thinking,
Don't tell me. She's in that mood again.
The DJ speaks into the mic.
Everyone,
Everyone better get back to their seats, because there are only a few minutes left until the final deciding match. And I have a feeling we're in for one heck of a ride!
Meanwhile, on the outside, Master Chang Shi is slowly wandering on the path towards the dome.
Now let's see what your final fate shall be.
He looks ahead, finishing.
What do you say, Red Fangs?
The BBA Legacy team walks on into the dome, with Nessa following after them.
Nessa?
Yun looks on in shock as Sayu gets up saying,
So he finally decided to become a full-fledged traitor.
Ray takes his seat on the lector, while Rin walks up to the stadium. Sayu walks up to the dish as well, staring at her opponent with piercing eyes.
You've got a lot of nerve, White Tiger. Thinking you're good enough to engage in combat against me.
She drops the launcher from her sleeve, then aims it at Rin with glaring eyes.
It shall be my pleasure to rip those nerves straight out of you.
Rin raises her new launcher uncomfortably, thinking,
There's no turning back now.
She spins the wire around her launcher, thinking,
They're all counting on me.
She looks up to the top of the lector, where the elders are standing, and finishes by thinking,
It all comes down to this.
Sayu interrupts her focus.
Don't worry. I will get to the extermination of your filthy village soon enough.
Rin looks on with anger.
Seems we have some unfinished business.
10,000 years of it.
Sayu says while placing the blade on her launcher.
It's only fitting it should be a white tiger that puts an end to you.
Rin puts her blade to the new GM launcher.
I see you've been indulging yourself even further into the corruptions of the modern world.
Sayu declares as she notices the new launcher.
Don't you dare think that technological advancement are going to make any difference when you're up against me.
Really? Wanna bet?
Rin answers, getting ready to launch. The DJ raises his mic.
Now allow me to introduce the final stadium, Pagan City!
The floors open up, revealing another massive stadium.
Based on the historic site in Myanmar, this monster dish has over 2,000 temples, pagodas, and ministries covered throughout its grassy plains.
The stadium is covered in mist, with many ancient temple buildings and temples throughout its grassy fields.
Everyone get ready!
The two contenders prepare to launch.
Let the battle begin in 3!
Kenny thinking,
This is it!
2!
Sayu thinks,
Let's see if your confidence remains once you've tasted the wrath of my Longmount.
1!
Rin thinks,
Trigger, I won't lose you.
Let it rip!
Sayu rips her blade. Rin does the same, flying back from the impact as she's hurting her arm, but she quickly regains herself.
Go, Trigger!
Drieger spins out of control really fast, and only narrowly avoids crashing into one of the temples.
Is this what the mighty white tigers have been reduced to? Pathetic.
Sayu declares, then swings her arm.
Go, Longma!
Longma goes on the chase after her, but each time it's about to catch up, Drieger moves out of the way with a flash. The process repeats about 5 times, until another Longma blade appears from behind one of the buildings.
What?
Rin's eyes open wide as Drieger strikes through it and disappears. As the battle progresses, Longma blades are appearing everywhere throughout the mist, and Drieger fights through them all, until finally reaching the real one, only to find her attack is too weak to even make the blade budge. Longma counterattacks, as Sayu comments,
You will surely lose.
I don't think so. Go, Trigger!
Rin responds as Drieger escapes wobbling and landing far away, spinning out of control due to the immense speed.
Just as I thought, she didn't quite master the multiplier in time, and her blade is only twice as fast. But there's still a chance we can win this if we just stick to the plan.
Kenny thinks, then gets up shouting,
Rin, keep your distance!
Ray watches Sayu create those phantom images with great curiosity, as he declares,
That technique!
Mistel notices it too.
It does look familiar, doesn't it?
Ray gets up in great surprise.
She's doing the same attack as Jin of the Gale!
Wavebuster illusion!
Sayu calls out, creating more copies in the mist.
How does she do that? She's creating illusions through the mist.
Makoto says, as Nessa responds,
This is only a prelude to what she's truly capable of. Sayu is the Guanyin of our clan. She's a spiritual teacher and the keeper of our sacred knowledge, and of the countless forbidden techniques hidden in our holy texts have been made available to her. And you can bet your soul she's trained relentlessly to master them all.
Nessa looks worried.
She's always been a prodigy at heart. That's also why she's the best of us.
Rin struggles with Drieger, attacking the blades surrounding her. Rin looks up at Sayu, thinking,
Just look at her! She's not even breaking a sweat!
Drieger is suddenly hit slightly by the real Longma, as it's sliding away on the earth-turned mud. Sayu looks up with a menacing face.
If speed is the only trick you carry, then we might as well end it now. Longma!
Longma strikes into Drieger so hard that Rin falls back to the floor from the impact, and Drieger MSUV slams into the mountain wall. Makoto gets up.
Rin!
Rin gets up instantly and moves into attack once more.
Don't stop, Drieger! Keep attacking!
Drieger fights on relentlessly, but Longma dodges all of Rin's moves as Sayu glares on.
Your efforts are futile.
Nessa gets up.
Pull back!
Makoto turns around in surprise.
Huh?
Sayu charges up with a purple aura as she calls out.
I could never lose to someone that relies on their equipment to win. Longma!
She strikes Drieger away, making it wobble uncontrollably, as the Longma bit is suddenly released, tearing down one of the temples with the endless amount of rubble, falling straight towards Drieger with a big blast of smoke covering the entire stadium, as everyone stands in silence. Lee bites together.
Is it over?
Ray smirks.
Not yet.
Drieger is flying through the air, having avoided the blast completely, as it lands safely upon one of the tallest structures. Rin breathes out, thinking,
That was close.
Kenny studies on his laptop as he comments.
Rin is doing good. She's keeping her distance and Drieger has more spinning power than Longma does. Thus, if we play it safe and keep the contact to a minimum, we can still outlast her.
I wouldn't be too confident.
Everyone turns to look at Nessa as he speaks.
You will end up regretting it later.
She's still displaying a lack of control.
Lee says, and Ray responds.
It'd be utterly impossible to have someone master the gear multiplier in only a few minutes. Luckily enough, I found a solution to that.
Sayu stares at Rin.
Run while you still can, White Tiger. There will be no escape for you, as the days of your clan are numbered.
Rin smirks.
I'm through running from you. Drieger!
Rin screams out as the Drieger bit is called forth from its blade, charging on in its full glory. Ray gets up and shouts,
Now! Do it!
Levin burst!
Rin calls her attack name, as her blade disappears within a single moment.
What?
Sayu's eyes open wide in surprise, as Drieger suddenly pops up behind one of the Longma clones, shattering it. Sayu turns to the side. In a mere instant, Drieger appears on the opposite side, striking through yet another clone. Sayu is in total disarray, not knowing where to turn as Drieger moves faster than any eye can catch, eliminating her army of illusionary blades. Then Drieger suddenly appears next to the real Longma, cutting it slightly on the side as Rin screams.
White Tiger Slash!
Makoto gets up in amazement.
It can't be!
Gao watches in shock.
So fast!
Kenny's jaw drops.
How?
Sayu sends Longma on the run. While trying to figure out what's going on, she creates several clones through the mist, but Drieger is shattering them all at high speeds, turning the tables of the battle.
If she didn't master the GM launcher, how can she still be so fast?
Mistel asks as he observes the battle, and Ray explains while wearing a proud smirk.
From the very start, I knew she'd not make it in time, so I bet it all on her making a weaker launch, thus only doubling her spin rate. But that'd not be enough to win. That's why I trained her to use Drieger's energy to increase her speed even more through the Levin burst, since this was something she was already familiar with. It really didn't matter if she didn't master the GM launcher, because I've instantly transformed her into the fastest blader on the planet.
Kevin looks on in awe.
That's amazing.
Mariah gets up and shouts.
Go, Rin! You can win this!
Rin sends her blade down over the opponent, striking the real Longma away, as Sayu looks on angrily. Drieger himself slicing his claws into the Longma bit's side. Yoon watches in total shock while thinking,
Impossible. That girl actually managed to hit Longma.
Nessa sweats.
I don't believe it!
Makoto is confused.
That's crazy. Rin is even stronger than you are, Gao.
What did you say?
Gao turns around angrily towards Makoto. Makoto raises his hands in defense.
What? It was a compliment.
Drieger slides away, as Rin looks up at her opponent with a cocky smile.
What's wrong? I thought you were gonna finish me quickly.
Sayu glares with anger, screaming.
It's not over. Wade Buster Illusion!
Drieger slides in and takes out the clones before they can even form, as Rin calls out,
Tiger Claw attack!
hitting Longma directly with a huge blast, making Sayu fall back onto the floor. Nessa looks stunned.
That's incredible! She's really fighting back!
Sayu struggles up to her feet, breathing heavily with an angry look in her eyes. Yoon looks with a worried face while thinking,
Oh no, this is gonna get ugly.
Nessa seems concerned.
Here it comes!
Makoto steps forth, calling out.
Damn straight, Ren's gonna knock her out like there's no tomorrow.
Nessa wears a serious expression.
It's not Rin that I was talking about.
Longma charges up again, like nothing happened. Rin's eyes open wide.
What?
Makoto is confused.
Wait, you mean to say that all those attacks Rin hit her with didn't affect her?
Sayu walks back up the stairs with an eerie look around her eyes. Nessa adds,
That look in her eyes. It's bad news.
He says, as Sayu steps back to her side of the stadium, staring Rin down and declaring,
You're stronger than I expected.
Everyone is surprised, as the opponent is not fazed at all with Rin's performance. Violent winds start rumbling throughout the dome, and all the windows within the building start trembling, until they eventually break, sending powerful cold winds all over the stadium, blowing through Sayu, who's glaring at Rin with those eerie eyes as she states,
The wind that feeds my victory have been unleashed, and I seriously doubt you'll be strong enough to withstand it.
We'll see about that.
Rin comments, while Drieger gathers power and she screams out,
Levin burst!
Drieger charges at ultra-high speeds towards the opponent, but before Rin can make the attack, Sayu calls out,
Ice wall.
A wall of ice appears instantly, thus stopping the attack. BBA Legacy look on in shock. Rin calls out,
Again! Drieger attack!
She strikes towards the blade, but ends up hitting another ice wall as she watches helplessly.
What the?
Kenny starts to sweat and yells out,
It's okay, Rin. Just keep away from her. You can still win through endurance.
Nessa chimes in.
No, she can't.
Everyone turns towards Nessa in surprise as he sits down explaining.
I was not gonna tell you this, but Longma is an endurance type blade. Endurance is the worst possible strategy you could ever choose to fight against Sayu.
What's wrong, White Tiger? Are you getting tired?
Sayu glares at Rin. They have started to sweat and breathe heavily.
Perhaps you want me to put you to your final rest.
Rin bites together in anger as Sayu reaches her arm forth.
Longma, strike!
Sayu screams as Longma bites into Drieger's flesh while going for the attack. Rin screams in panic.
Drieger!
Kenny is studying the situation as Makoto asks Nessa,
Quick, man, give us a hint of what we should do. This is serious.
Tiger claw attack!
Rin calls out using the Tiger Claw attack to strike Longma off of Drieger, but the fierce Blade and Bit are quickly on the chase after her, with the wicked Sayu saying,
Did you really think your little gadget would be enough to measure up to our refined Beyblade arts that was passed down through the millennia?
Longma goes for the attack again.
Your feeble attempts are laughable.
Nessa explains,
Sayu have mastered all the techniques of the wind. She cracked the windows to channel the cold winds from this high altitude, combining them with the moisture that's in the air to make her ice. That's why she's been gathering all the mist, making it grow. The more mist we get, the closer we are to the end.
Kenny studies nervously.
Now that you mention it, the mist does seem like it has kept on growing ever since this battle started.
Makoto clenches his fist and calls out,
Just tell us how to defeat her already!
You're really slow, aren't you?
What?
Makoto turns to Gao in anger. Gao wears a serious face.
Don't you get it? Rin is simply not strong enough to win this.
Says you!
It's the truth, Makoto. Face it. Letting Rin fight in the final battle was a huge mistake.
Gao sits down with crossed arms as he looks on at the battle.
There's only one way to beat a blader with a strong endurance, and that's through an attack powerful enough to drain all that endurance away.
Drieger strikes Longma away and goes for the attack, which is once again blocked by the ice wall, so Drieger backs away as Rin breathes heavily while thinking.
This is bad. I can't play into her hands and waste all my strength on useless attacks that don't even hit.
Lee is getting worried.
This was a bad idea.
Ray interrupts.
It was not.
The White Tigers turn towards Ray in surprise.
Huh?
Ray smirks.
We still haven't used our trump card.
Kevin asks,
What do you mean?
Ray gets up and calls out,
Rin, finish her now before it's too late.
Rin looks up at him and nods, while Sayu takes a defensive position saying,
Give me all you have got. I'll just deliver it back to you, with 10 times the power.
How can you possibly deliver something that's never been done before?
Rin smirks with confidence.
Go! Levin burst!
Drieger charges in at high speed with the Levin Burst, but it doesn't attack. Instead, it spins in circles around Longma. Ray watches with a determined look.
When I found out that Tyson was the one that taught Makoto the Stormhammer, I knew I couldn't allow myself to fall behind.
Ice wall.
Sayu calls out calmly, building an ice wall around her blade as Drieger starts spinning faster and faster, increasing in speed, turning into a shining blur. Rin smirks.
That little trick of yours won't save you. Not from my finishing move!
Ray smiles.
So I developed a move just as insane as the one Tyson made.
Mauling Tiger Trap!
Rin calls out, and Drieger strikes at all various corners of the ice wall, while spinning at ultimate speed in the circle. The White Tigers are surprised with Mariah asking,
Is that it?
Just wait for it.
Ray smiles with confidence as the ice begins to crack. Drieger flies in with a flash, right through the ice wall, in a downward angle, striking straight into Longma, sending her flying up into the air.
Longma, stay in the stadium!
Sayu screams out, in full fury with her long hair flying in the wind, and her blade flying up in front of her. Ray calls out,
Now!
Traverse cut!
Rin yells with all she's got, and Drieger flies up into the air, striking into Longma from below. Then before landing, it uses the claw-like rays on the side to attack and charge itself upwards towards the opponent again and again from below. Kevin watches in complete awe.
I don't believe it.
Gary adds,
She's flying?
Drieger keeps striking into Longma over and over as Rin keeps screaming.
Go, go, go!
Kenny watches in surprise.
That's crazy!
Rin strikes Longma up through the mist and into the heavens as Sayu gets weaker, falling to her knees with fanatic eyes.
This can't be.
Rin calls out.
You're finished!
Drieger vanishes, then suddenly appears above Longma, striking down on top of it, as Rin shouts,
Levin Burst!
Drieger starts doing the Levin Burst on top of the Longma blade, charging it down at ultra-high speed, with tiny pieces flying off of it, as they both fly down into the ground in a massive explosion. Smoke is blasting everywhere, as Yoon gets up in shock.
Sayu!
Everyone watches in anticipation as the smoke clears, with Rin standing tall within the flowing winds. Rin looks proud, staring at her kneeling opponent.
And thus the conflict ends.
The smoke disappears, showing Longma stuck in the ground, unspinning covered in cracks, while Drieger still spins on. The DJ raises his mic and makes the call.
We have a winner!
BBA gets up in shock, while Makoto shouts out in happiness over the entire dome.
She did it!
The entire building erupts in applauds and cheers while Mariah gets up yelling,
Way to go, Rain!
Kevin seems relieved and happy.
She won!
Lee looks worried.
Something is not right here.
The DJ raises his arm, ready to announce.
The final match and the ultimate victory goes to...
Then he's suddenly interrupted by the Longma blade, breaking apart into pieces of ice. Makoto is confused.
Wait, her Beyblade was made of ice this entire time?
Kenny speaks in a nervous voice.
What in the world is going on?
Sayu starts rising while chuckling to herself.
You think our conflict is over? Don't make me laugh.
A faint spinning sound starts coming from the mist as Sayu declares,
This conflict won't end until each and every one of you have been utterly destroyed. Go, Longma!
Longma comes out of the shadows, suddenly striking into the worn-out Drieger, as Rin calls out in panic.
No way!
Nessa watches calmly.
Back when Rin struck Longma through the mist, Sayu created one of her Frost Phantom clones and moved it in the path of the attack, using the power of the Longma bit to disguise it as her real blade.
Frost Phantoms?
Makoto asks in a trembling voice. Nessa points at the stadium.
There's a reason I was trying to warn you. Watch, and you will see the true power of the Frost Phantoms.
Another bay appears out of the thick mist as Rin thinks.
Another illusion?
The blade from the mist suddenly strikes into Drieger, just as if it had been the real thing. Rin's eyes open wide in pure horror.
It can't be!
Drieger is sent flying towards the other Longma blade, and gets hit by that too. All of a sudden, she's stuck fighting two blades at once. Ray rises up in utter terror.
This is bad!
Sayu glares intensively.
Just as I told you before, I'm gonna return your attacks with 10 times the power.
Sayu says mockingly as the mist clears, revealing 10 Longma blades, all as effective as real ones.
Hey, that's cheating! Disqualify her! This match is over! No one should be allowed to use several Beyblades at once against a single opponent!
Makoto shouts in anger. Kenny gulps and explains.
While I do agree, I'm afraid disqualifying her is impossible. The rules only apply to her Beyblades, but 9 of those blades are made from ice within the stadium itself. The rules have not anticipated for something that's never been done before.
Nessa adds.
I tried to warn you. Sayu is in a league of her own.
Now is the time to face your fate, White Tiger Trash.
Sayu clenches both of her fists and calls out in full fury.
Frost Phantom Assault!
All of the blades charge forth, attacking Dreeger at once, smacking her around between them constantly. Rin bites together, falling to her knees.
This is the lowest.
A tear falls down her cheek as she watches her blade get hit over and over. Kenny yells out,
"Quit the match or Trigger will be destroyed!"
Sayu seems offended by Rin's tears.
Rise and defend your honor, White Tiger. Face your end with a bit of dignity.
Rin looks at Sayu with an angry, tear-filled face.
How dare you talk of honor and dignity? This is a totally unfair attack. Have you no pride as a blader?
You and me have very different concept of what a blader even is. To you and your kind, Beyblading have turned into nothing more than a kid's game.
Sayu stares at her prey, while the attack is still raging on down below.
To us, Beyblades are a lethal weapon of warfare that only the strongest and proudest of warriors may wield.
Sayu charges up with a shining aura of fury.
You are no blader. That's why you could never win against me.
Sayu finishes, as Rei closes her tear-filled eyes, accepting the never-ending assault that continues below. She lowers her head, and flashbacks show as she remembers being picked on as a kid.
The newcomers always wanted to challenge me first, because I was the daughter of the world-renowned Rei. But I was never good enough for them.
Rin is shown getting beaten over and over again in the past.
I thought if I had trained hard and became stronger, I'd somehow be accepted. I would somehow be good enough.
Flashback is shown of Rin training relentlessly, while Rei watches her secretly.
When I inherited Trigger, I only stuck out more, but I didn't mind, because I finally had someone to talk to.
An image is shown of her holding Dreeger happily by herself.
When I managed to gain enough respect to train under the mysterious Mistel.
Then switches to an image of her speaking with Mistel.
Everyone just assumed it had something to do with me being Rei's daughter. They considered me privileged, but nothing could have been further from the truth.
Rin is shown sitting on a bench, while Tai and Chao battle in the finals.
Even when I finally made the team, they just kept saying it was only because I was Rei's daughter that I got selected. When the council decided to take my one and only companion away from me, I decided I've had enough.
An image is shown of Rin leaving. As Tai tries talking to her, she ignores him and moves on.
I was gonna head out into the world like Dad and Mistel had done, and come back strong enough to finally prove myself. I was gonna prove to all of them that I was a blader of my own that could stand on the top of the world with my own strength.
The flashback ends as Rin opens her eyes intensively as she rises and thinks,
I have to win this battle on my own.
In the background, even Makoto has caved in, screaming,
Stop the match!
Trigger!
Rin calls out intensively, moving away in an instant from the attack. Mistel is shocked, thinking,
She can still move that fast?
Mariah smiles proudly, thinking,
Do it, Rin!
Rin breathes heavily and yells out with all she's got.
Go attack!
She takes out 3 of the ice clones, to Sayu's great surprise, as she's thinking,
What resistance?
Suddenly, Dreeger strikes into the real Longma, only to fly back. Rin slides back too, nearly falling, but quickly gets back up and keeps calling fanatically.
Don't give up, Trigger! Keep going!
Dreeger suddenly breaks 2 more of the ice clones, making Sayu panic.
Longma, hold her!
Longma traps Dreeger between 4 clones, and the real blade holding her in a lock. Rin falls to her knees as Sayu watches with fierce eyes.
Why? Why are you so resilient? What are you even fighting for? To win some stupid game? Or is it some dumb trophy? What is it?
Rin struggles to get up while saying,
I'm fighting for my friends!
She coughs and falls down on the ground, exhausted. Makoto gets up.
Rin!
Rin doesn't answer and trembles while struggling to get up, and Dreeger is struggling too, being bitten by the fierce Longma. Kenny panics.
We have to stop the match! Trigger is going to break any minute now!
On his computer screen, the red lights are blinking everywhere.
Fighting for your friends?
Sayu clenches her fist.
That's prosperous. Don't you realize what evil have been unleashed upon the world due to your filthy little kids game?
Rin struggles to get up through the pain and exhaustion as Sayu continues ranting.
Your clan not only murdered our great king, Meng Zhang, but are also responsible for Beyblading's rediscovery. That cursed Mr. Dickinson found your village, with the corrupt Dr. Zargard, planted these seeds for this new reemergence of Beyblading. They opened up a Pandora's box of ancient evil, which the world have not known for 10,000 years. You have no idea what's waiting in the horizon because of their grave mistake.
Longma charges up full power, while Sayu calls out,
As the Gon Yin, it's my duty to close that box and put an end to Beyblading for good before it's too late.
Sayu screams out as Kenny's jaw drops in surprise.
The end of Beyblading? So that's what they want?
Nessa nods as Makoto suddenly realizes something.
Hold on. Meng Zhang?
Rin struggles to get up, while Makoto runs up to the stadium in a hurry.
Stop fighting! Now!
Sayu turns towards him in anger.
Don't interfere!
Makoto steps up, calling.
Meng Zhang could not have been murdered, because I am his descendant!
Sayu stops for a moment, then starts laughing surprisingly.
Very funny, silly boy, to make such a ridiculous claim. Meng Zhang was killed by Jing Bei, and we've been fighting his White Tiger clan ever since. To claim you're the descendant of original avatar of the Blue Dragon, our great founder. How dare you insult his memory in front of me?
Makoto smiles cockily.
Does the name Master Zanshi ring a bell?
Drieger is getting pieces torn from it, while Sayu looks at Makoto in terror.
Where did you hear that name, you liar? I will destroy you for trying to deceive me.
You destroy no one.
Rin has suddenly risen up, barely standing with the wind flowing through her, while Drieger is shielded by the power of the bit. Rin finishes her sentence.
Because our battle ends here! This is for you, Drieger!
The exhausted Rin raises her hand into the air, screaming out the name of her special attack.
Falling Fang Bit Blast!
The Drieger bit charges into the sky and flies down in fragments of green light, cutting up the entire stadium into a huge blast. Both Rin and Sayu flying away onto the floor from its power, all of the Frost Phantoms shattering, before the entire place is filled with smoke and everyone watches in complete surprise. The DJ gets back up, coughing from all the smoke.
Why didn't I become a lawyer?
He whispers to himself. As the smoke clears, you see all the temples torn down, and Rin getting up slowly.
Trigger is still spinning!
The DJ announces as the blade is revealed. Rin watches carefully towards the direction of her opponent, as a huge burst of wind pierces the smoke in an instant, revealing the Longma blade still spinning, though wobbling.
I will not yield to you,
Sayu says, rising with furious eyes.
Neither will I!
Rin rises and walks on, struggling. Sayu starts gaining speed, running forth towards the stadium, while screaming with great intensity, as Rin does the same. Their blades spin ahead, facing the stadium with a huge explosion, making the two of them fly away onto the floor hard.
This is crazy! These two just keep on going!
The DJ comments as everyone stands speechless. They both get up once more and run instantly for another attack, attacking over and over with blast after blast. Sayu screaming fanatically.
Strike, strike, strike!
Rin screaming at the top of her lungs.
Trigger her!
It all culminates into a huge explosion, with the two of them flying away, along with their bays both landing inside the stadium, and as the smoke clears, both blades are still spinning, but wobbling. Both Rin and Sayu struggle to get up. Rin fails as Sayu rises, walking along towards the stadium slowly.
I have to win. I will not lose. Not now. Not ever.
She raises her hand for the final attack, as Rin is unable to get up. Sayu smirks as Rin makes her last attempt and collapses. Sayu prepares for the final strike and states,
Long.
Then suddenly her legs cave in as she's falling on the ground staring up in horror.
Can it be?
Rin having risen to stand on the opposite side against all odds, Drieger still spinning while Longma is not.
The ultimate victory and the title as the new champions of Asia go to BBE Legacy!
The DJ calls out to the thundering applause and cheers echoing through the dome. Rin smiles and finally allows Drieger to stop spinning as she falls down, and Makoto catches her in a hurry. Yoon runs up to Sayu, and the BBA team runs up to Rin. Rin is okay, and everyone is impressed with her victory. Ray looks at Mistel with curiosity.
You knew about her final attack?
Mistel states,
Kind of. I helped her master it back at the temple when I heard of the dilemma with the council and all, but I don't think we could have won it had it not been for your efforts as well as Rin's own Tennessee.
Mistel finishes to the image of Rin, smiling together with her teammates.
In the end, everything simply built up to a fine conclusion.
Sayu looks at them in anger, getting up, ready to launch again, when a familiar hand lands on her arm.
That's enough.
And Sayu turns around in shock.
Master Zhangxi, what are you doing here?
Changxi smiles.
I came here to see how all of you managed to pass your trials.
Yoon is really confused.
Okay, you got some serious explaining to do here. What the hell is going on?
I was just as surprised as you are when I ran outside and found Master Zhangxi waiting for me.
Nessa says in a cheerful voice. Ray gets a very serious expression, saying,
There's something I need to know.
Then he jumps down from the lector and walks towards the Red Fang. Master Changxi is speaking to his students as the shadow of Ray moves up above him and speaks.
You're the head of the Red Fang, I presume?
Changxi looks up at him.
That is correct. And you must have many questions, I imagine.
Ray's face fills with anger.
Quit with the niceties. I'm not buying it.
Suddenly, Changxi falls to his knees, surprising Ray.
The story I have to tell is one of the deepest regret and thousands of years filled with endless bloodshed.
Ray is confused, staring down at the old man, thinking,
What is he talking about?
Changxi begins telling his tale.
Over 10,000 years ago, during the age of the Great Corruption, after the split of the original Fang village, our great dragon king, the mighty Meng Zhang, the original Beyblader, disappeared. Our clan believed that he had been murdered by his former friend Jian Bing, that had become a rival to him. The Great Corruption was the age of great suspicion, due to the danger the Bit Beasts were imposing, people gaining power they should not have. Jiang Bing's ideology of finding balance between the dark and light was viewed as a threat to Meng's ideology of removing all darkness from the beasts themselves, which was Meng's goal. They were both great men, but found different answers to what was the cause of the great evil covering the world. Meng wanted to work with the beasts, while Jian blamed the people wielding them, believing the darkness within the beasts could be tamed. His line appeared too close to those that wanted to use the holy beast for their own gain.
Ray looks angry.
So your clan murdered Jian Bing. I know the story, but that's not what I want to know about. I want to know what...
I'm getting to that.
Changxi interrupts him.
I can't know every detail from 10,000 years ago, but I can know what followed with each casualty. The hatred between our clans only grew, the hatred feeding the flame of eternal war and death, claiming even my own parents. The Red Fang believed the darkness within every bit must be forcibly removed and sealed away before it was too late, eventually leading to wiping out Beyblading across the world, along with 2 other fractions. After that, we hid in the shadows with small conflicts passing, until I one day foresaw in a vision that your clan would be responsible for making Beyblades return to the public eye, and the holy beasts will re-emerge with them. That's when I led the attack in which your parents were killed.
Changxi states, making Ray light up in complete fury.
What did you say?
Suddenly, tears appear on the old man's face as he bows his head.
That's why I wanted to apologize and do this one last favor to atone for my sins. To teach my 3 grandchildren the danger of falling to the darkness within themselves, even if you do feel you're following the path of justice.
Sayu seems touched.
Grandfather.
Changxi continues, with tear-filled eyes.
All that death and all that destruction for nothing. It took a young boy, a student of mine, the son of an archaeologist and descendant of Meng himself, to make me realize how wrong we had been. But by then it was all too late. We had already lost ourselves to the anger and the 2 students I had at the time, the 2 that were with me on that night, one of which killed your parents, have now joined the evil that's quickly approaching, and it's all my fault. I don't know how I will ever be able to forgive myself.
Ray's clenching his fist, trembling with anger, until he thinks of his parents. Realizing the true reason they died was the anger between their clans, he lets his anger go, stopping the trembling clench, and puts his hands on top of the old man's head, with a big sigh as he states,
You may never forgive yourself, but I do.
The Red Fang members look surprised, as Ray leans down, seeing eye to eye with Chang-Chi as he's finishing.
But I need to know what this great threat is, if we're to face it.
Chang-Chi takes a letter from his robe, and hands it to Ray, whispering,
I don't know much, but what I do know is in this letter. Open it when you feel the time is right, and you are about to face him. Please try to avoid panic.
Ray responds in a serious tone.
I will.
The BBA approaches the Red Fang side, and Makoto is surprised.
Wait, Master Zanshi, why are you here?
Chang-Chi turns around and waves.
Oh, hello, Makoto.
Sayu's heart stops a beat as she realizes something and asks,
Wait a second. Do you two know each other?
Chang-Chi answers,
Of course we do. He's the prime descendant of Meng Zhang.
Sayu trembles.
Descendant of Meng Zhang, the great Dragon King.
The entire Red Fang team's eyes pop out of their sockets, screaming,
No way!
Sayu shines up in panic, stating,
Oh my god. Please forgive us. Oh, great King of the Red Fang.
Makoto looks puzzled.
Wait, what?
The rest of the BBA team are just as stunned as Makoto is. Within a second, all 3 of the Red Fangs are kneeling down before Makoto, who stare on them with a confused face as Sayu is declaring,
Please pardon us for our previous misbehavior. We are the Red Fang, the descendants of the great king's most elite guard. I, Ziyu Ying, current Guan Ying, and destined right-hand advisor to our long-lost king, hereby pledge our lives and services to the rightful heir of his throne, Makoto Granger. May his all enemies face our wrath, and his allies know our strength.
Makoto's eyes shine up in amazement.
So cool!
Kenny facepalms.
Oh no! If they feed his ego anymore, he'll become even worse than Tyson.
Makoto looks at them and asks,
So, you have to do whatever I say now?
Sayu nods.
Your words are our command, great king.
Makoto asks in a friendly voice.
Can you guys beat up Yo for yelling at me earlier?
Nessa brings out the fans from his sleeve, getting ready for battle. Sayu brings up her blade again, and Yoon looks on with a murderous grin, saying,
With pleasure.
As they all jump up ready to charge Gao, and Gao backing away with a surprised face, going,
Makoto, you bastard!
Chang-Chi jumps up calling out,
Hold on. Maybe we should wait with the pledge.
Makoto calls out.
Calm down, guys. I was only joking.
The Red Fangs stop, and Sayu walks up to him staring confusedly.
You were joking.
Makoto nods.
Yeah.
Suddenly, Sayu starts laughing out loud as she's holding her hands with the claw-like nails in the air, coming off as the laughter of an evil maniac, making Makoto stand there feeling awkward, unsure how to react as the evil laughter continues to echo. Yoon and Nessa watch in confusion, Nessa commenting,
I've never seen Big Sis this happy before, but honestly, it's kinda scary.
Yoon comments,
I actually think she seemed less creepy when she was motionless.
Sayu stops laughing and peers her creepy eyes at Makoto.
You're funny. I like that.
Makoto is confused and kinda scared.
Thanks, I think.
Rin stares in confusion, as does Gao, who comments,
How anyone can like that brat is beyond me.
Chang-Chi walks ahead calmly.
I hope you've all learned some valuable lessons from these trials the Red Fang have brought, and will use what you have learned in your coming challenges.
Makoto jumps up in shock.
Hold on. All of this was a test?
After hearing the entire story, Makoto looks disappointed.
What? You're saying all of this was for nothing?
Chang-Chi explains.
Not quite. This trial was very important. For example, you learned not to let your ego get the better of you. You also experienced how easy it is to lose Dragoon if you're not careful. It takes more than spirit to stay on top. It takes skill, experience, and wisdom.
Makoto thinks back.
I guess you're right.
Sayu steps forth, still peering with her eyes as she lifts her blade.
Time to return what's rightfully yours.
Makoto shines up.
Finally. Now I can continue my journey to become the king of Beyblading.
Sayu continues with her peering eyes as she transfers Dragoon back into its rightful blade, adding,
I'm sure you're going to make a great king.
A heart pops up on the top of her head as she says that, and Makoto looks really confused. Changshi continues.
Hopefully young Gao learned that he must be ready for anything.
He's talking over Yoon, transferring Dronzer into the new Dronzer MF. Gao stares at him angrily.
I still don't trust you.
Yoon gives off a sadistic smirk.
Whatever, dude.
The speech ends with Rin, looking at her torn-up blade.
And young Rin learned not to underestimate her own abilities.
And I finally got to wield a new modern Beyblade!
Nessa jumps up and showing it to Makoto.
This is Phalon MS, a real beauty!
Makoto looks at it in amazement.
Wow, it looks really cool!
Sayu glares at it with bored eyes.
I think it looks ugly. The old Beyblades are way prettier.
Changshi walks up to her, showing their new bays.
I was hoping you would change your mind after losing to a group of more advanced Beyblades. It may be crucial that you move more into the HMS system by now, since it should make you a lot more powerful.
Sayu gets annoyed.
But I don't want to. You know I like old stuff better. Besides, using modern technology feels like cheating to me.
I think your new blades look awesome.
Makoto adds while staring at them. Sayu gives off a friendly glare towards Makoto.
Guess I could try them out if Makoto likes them.
Makoto gets confused again. Kenny looks at them and comments.
Honestly, we should consider ourselves very lucky they didn't bother to master the HMS system before facing us, or we would have been doomed. By the way, I'm really grateful it was all just a test. You really had me worried there when it came to that gloomy boy with the hat.
Everyone gives off really surprised looks towards Kenny. Changshi adding,
I don't know any gloomy boy with a hat.
Meanwhile, Mose is walking into the corridor while talking to Skelton.
You were right. That was really interesting. They sure have a tendency to overcome the most impossible odds.
That's what I've been telling you. Their parents possess that same ability. It's the very reason all of their previous foes failed. They never studied their spirit or how to break it.
Skelton answers as Mose keeps walking into the darkness, adding,
Too bad the Red Fang didn't win. It'd have been interesting to crucify them and take their bits.
Skelton smirks while smoking his cigarillo in the shadows.
Patience, my boy. Savor your hunger for this new mission I have prepared for you. It's going to be way bigger than any of your usual jobs.
At the same time, Makoto laughs at Kenny's remark.
Oh, you mean Mose.
Makoto continues,
Come on, Kenny. The guy's harmless. I can't believe you're scared of him. He's my #1 fan after all.
Kenny sweats, realizing he's said too much, not wanting to scare the kids at their moment of celebration.
Yeah, I guess you're right. How silly of me to worry.
Changshi stares at Makoto with a serious face, thinking,
I just hope the training I have given you is enough to help you through the trials I foresee in the future.
They wave goodbye to the Red Fangs on oddly friendly terms, and a speech on how Makoto is excited for the finals. Sayu waves a few extra goodbyes to Makoto, with her hearts flying everywhere. As the Red Fang enter into the corridor, Yoon comments,
It feels strange to have gone through your whole life working for something only to find out later it was all just a test. I feel almost a bit betrayed, to be honest.
Changshi keeps on walking, and sighs.
I understand how you might feel, young. But believe me, the one that's the least likely to ever fall to evil are the ones that have already been down that path, and returned from it a changed man. Gao's father is a good example of this. Besides, the work and training you've done are still very important to the future of the world, as you all have a role to play.
Sayu has peering eyes and seems more merry than usual, so Nessa looks at her and asks,
Sister, I really thought you would be the one that would take this the hardest. especially after having had your entire world turned upside down. But strangely enough, you seem cheerful. How come?
I'm really happy, that's all.
Sayu answers, while Yoon asks,
What the hell is there to be happy about?
Sayu glares at him angrily.
Yoon, you sure are stupid, aren't you?
She turns all cheerful again.
It's because I found my future husband, and we're gonna live together in a big dark palace, freed from all modern conveniences, as we try to revive our clan, as is our duty.
Yoon starts laughing.
Poor guy.
Nessa stares in shock.
Jesus, are you sure about this? He seems like a sort of laid-back kind of guy, and you're like...
I'm what?
Sayu asks with a threatening voice. Yoon adds,
Well, for one, you're kind of bossy, not to mention strict as all hell.
Nessa nods his head nervously.
Yes. Slightly strict. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Oh, don't worry about that. I shall set him straight once we're married. You'll see.
Sayu says, smiling as she mistakes the criticism for compliments.
Besides, I think he's kinda cute. When he's acting all nervous around me, he probably likes me too.
Nessa thinks to himself while sweating.
He's probably acting nervous because you creep him out with your weird mask and long scary nails.
Suddenly the happy moment ends, as Chang-Shi grabs onto his heart falling down. Sayu calls out,
Grandfather!
They carry him to their locker room and lay him down on a bench while he's sweating and seems weak. Sayu yells,
Hurry, get the doctor!
Chang-Shi stops her.
Sayu, there's no use. I'm old. I've done what I needed to do.
Sayu is crying, and all of his grandchildren gather up around him as he coughs and declares,
I have to send you on your final and most important mission yet.
Sayu insists.
Don't talk like that, Grandpa. You'll be alright.
Nessa and even Yoon look sad. Chang-Shi continues.
The war is inevitable at this point, and I've seen the terror approaching. All our transcripts of the Red Fang history are in your locker. When I'm gone, you'll be the last of the Red Fang, except for one. Hero, your final mission will be to find my student Hero, and the one called Brooklyn. Finding these two are of the utmost importance, and should you fail, the great darkness I warned you about will surely win.
The scene switches to Mose walking through the dark corridors, as the echoes of Chang-Shi's final words are heard.
I'm not quite sure who the Dark One is, but I have a feeling it might be my old student that was once assigned under me by the former head of the Brotherhood, Voltaire himself, Kai's grandfather.
Another image is shown of Voltaire, presenting a young student to Chang-Shi, way back in the past.
Beware of my former student, Shadow. I know his powers are immense, and the very moment I'm gone, he'll know of my death and come after you.
An image is shown of Skelton, smirking evilly, holding his cigarillo.
Heed my warning, and travel lightly.
The warning echoes, as he's already passed away, and the Red Fang get ready in a hurry.
Sleep with one eye open, and always be on the move.
They pack their bags and collect all the manuscripts.
Never stay in one place too long, 'cause no matter where you are, he will find you.
The Red Fang run out of the dome in a hurry, Sayu crying like crazy.
During every waking hour, be sure to run with all you have. Run like you're running from death itself, 'cause in reality, that's exactly what you are doing.
Mose looks out the window with glaring eyes, seeing the Red Fang run away into the horizon.
You want me to chase the Red Fangs to the ends of the earth in order to find Brooklyn?
Skelton answers with amusement.
Yes, it's your single most important mission yet.
Sounds like fun.
Mose smiles and hangs up.
Our final war against the Bladebreakers and their allies are quickly approaching. It's so close now, I can even feel it in my fingertips.
Skelton looks at his fingers psychotically as he moves them, then glares up at a large sinister masked figure standing above him, staring menacingly in an ancient samurai-like outfit, and glowing red eyes that shine in the darkness. Skelton looks at the figure and asks,
What do you say, Master Shadow?
And so, the arc ends on the reveal of the new villain of the series, Shadow of the Black Flame. I hope you guys enjoyed this. even though it was a bit rough to wrap it all up. I hope you read the description for various ways to support us, and look forward to the next arc, because we're really going to step things up from here on out. Don't miss it, and we'll see you next time in Chapter 11, From Beyond the Grave.